Hi, my name is Carol. Um, I am Brazilian. I'm sorry about the dim lights and the fact that I'm still wearing my pajamas. It's very early in the morning and I don't want to wake up my husband. If I try to get changed, he might wake up. And I'm recording that in English because I wanted to reach more people for my Brazilian friends. I'm just gonna get some subtitles. So I wanted to tell you a story um, about something that happened to me in 2009. That was 16 years ago, but some of the events are so fresh in my mind that it seems like they happened yesterday. I was 24 years old. I was in the US studying English. To go to the States was my childhood dream. I wanted to be an English teacher here in Brazil. So I figured that I had to, after I finished college here, I went there to study even more. And then I was gonna come back to teach English. So I did for many years, for 15 some years, I was an English teacher. So when I was about 24 years old, 2009, July 2009, I had a boyfriend. I had an American boyfriend. Um, we'd been dating for 7 or 8 months or so. We had met through Brazilian friends. He attended a church, he was a Catholic, and many Brazilians attended that church too. And I somehow made friends with them. They introduced us, and we hit it off. So it was amazing. And we were talking about getting married eventually. Um, but then we got separated by this trip he had to make. He came to Brazil to attend a wedding. One of those Brazilian friends were getting married to, he was an American guy marrying a Brazilian girl. So the wedding was going to take place here in Brazil. So um, I had to stay in the US because I was working, but I was going to take a vacation right after that trip. So we were going to meet up in Miami to take a vacation together after his trip to Brazil. So at the time, social media was a little different, but it was already there. So everybody started posting pictures of the wedding, and there was always this same girl next to him. And I thought, well, that's odd. I mean, like the group pictures, and they're always next to each other. So I started asking around, the people who were at the wedding, hey, what's going on? Like, this girl is next to him all the time. And everybody said, oh, just don't mind. It's just, everybody hanging out together, and we're just having fun and stuff. So I said, okay, just let it go. And then it was time for me to go to Miami and take a vacation with my boyfriend. So we met up in Miami. I rented a car. In the state of Florida, if you are under 25, you have to pay an extra tax to rent a car. I was 24 and my 25th birthday was gonna be in 15 days after we arrived in Miami. So I begged the car rental facility guy to help me out with that, and he said, okay, so you're gonna sign this term, and I'm not gonna give you that tax to pay, so you're gonna be fine. I said, oh my God, thank God, because that was a $200 tax. It was a lot of money. It was a week's paycheck for me at the time. So we went to the hotel that we were gonna stay at, and then I confronted him. I I said, you know, I saw those pictures, and they look very, weird because you were always next to the same girl. And then uh, he said, yeah, I fell in love with her. We dated for those 20 days that I was in Brazil. I got introduced to her parents as a boyfriend. But then on my last day, I told her about you. So she dumped me, and here I am. I want to be with you. And I turned to him and I said, okay, thanks for being honest. Now you can pack your bags and go back to Chicago. We used to live in Chicago. So he left, and I remember that I was devastated. It was never the plan to stay in the United States. The plan was always to come back to Brazil, but I liked him very much. And I was already taking antidepressants. I had a mild depression, and that depression had deepened. And I couldn't get out of bed for 3 days. And I was thinking about hurting myself. I'm going to be careful with the words here because of the platforms. I don't want to be banned or to have my video taken down, but you know what I mean. So I stayed in bed for 3 days, crying. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I can say that those were one of the darkest days in my life. I didn't know what to do. So on the 4th day, I decided that I had to shake it off and enjoy my vacation. So I decided to go to the beach. I was born at the coast, so I love the beach. So I went to the beach. I went for a swim. And the beaches in Florida, I mean, at least where I was, they're fenced. It's not like here in Brazil, you're walking on the street and then suddenly, oh yeah, there's the beach. They're all fenced. So when I decided that I wanted to go back to my hotel, I couldn't find the exit. So I was walking around trying to find my way out. And there was this guy who looked very concerned. And he tried to help me. And that story is about that guy. So he helped me out. He offered to walk me to my car. And he was very concerned. Like, he said, what are you doing by yourself at the beach? Like, what's going on? And you seem lost. What's going on? And I felt safe around him. I felt a connection. Being a spiritist today, I've been studying the spiritual world for 10 years. I know that he's a friend from a former life. I just know. I know that God put him there to help me at that moment. So I just told him everything. You know, he walked me to my car. I opened the door. He sat at the on the sidewalk, and I sat inside the passenger seat. You know, I sat inside the car on the passenger seat with my door open, and he was sitting on the sidewalk. And I told him that I had a boyfriend and I had to leave him because he was cheating on me. And he listened patiently. And at the end, he said, "Oh my God, that's fucked up." So what are you gonna do now? Are you gonna like spend your vacation by yourself? And I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna make a lemonade, you know? So I'm here, I'm gonna go shopping." And he said, "You know what kind of music do you listen to?" And I said, "Well, I'm listening to Rancid right now." And I had the CD playing in my car. And I turned it on. He was like, "Oh my God, like you're from Brazil?" I told him I was Brazilian. "You're from Brazil. It's a totally different country. And we listen to the same songs. We like the same bands." And we were talking about all the bands. And I said I was a singer in a band. And he said, "Oh my God, I play drums in a band. So why don't you come and watch our rehearsal? We're gonna get together, me and the guys in the band. Why don't you come watch?" And I said, "Okay." And I used to play the bass at the time much better than I do nowadays if I tried. So I remember that I wasn't in so much pain anymore. I wasn't feeling alone anymore. I found someone that I was gonna hang out with, that I felt safe with, that I felt connected with. So we hung out every day. I went to watch the band rehearse. I played bass and I sang Chick Magnet from MXPX. And they were like, "Oh my God, like we have so much in common, you know." And some other day, he invited me to go have drinks at his apartment, he and the guys in the band. And I said, "Okay, I'm coming." I didn't tell him, but I wasn't eating. I hadn't, I hadn't eaten for a proper meal for many days. All that I could eat was a granola bar and a banana and coffee to stay awake. And when I got to the apartment, he asked me, "Did you have dinner? Like, did you eat something?" So I lied. I said yes. He was very concerned. He was thoughtful enough because he didn't want to get me drunk. We were going to have drinks. So we all had tequila shots, and I had brought a bottle of wine. So we were also drinking wine. And we decided to take a boat ride. They had a small boat because, on the back of the apartment, there was a river, like a canal or something. I don't know if it was Miami or Palm Beach. The cities are all like small. You lose track of which city you are when you're driving around. I mean, here in Brazil, when you go from one city to another city, there's some piece of road between, and you see the city limits sign. So it's very clear that you're leaving one city and you're getting to another city. But there, like it's all very connected. You're just driving. There are houses. There are stores, and then suddenly you're in a different city. So you lose that reference. I didn't know exactly where I was. I didn't know exactly which city I was. So we went on the boat ride. Me, him, and other two guys in the band, if I remember. And we were drinking, and we were talking, and we were playing music. And he showed me that, the canals, they had like those tunnels. And he was showing me the graffiti that he did with his with his friends when he was a teenager. He wasn't born in the US. He was a foreigner as well. But he spent his adolescence in the US. And we were on the boat, and he braided my hair. I have a picture of it. So yeah, we were on that boat ride. We went back, like everybody got out of the boat. He stayed last, and I stayed last. And I remember that he got out of the boat, and he reached out for me to help me out. And I thought, oh my God, like, he's such a gentleman. I wasn't expecting it. I had a feeling so strong at that moment, just because he was reaching out for me, that I remember 16 years later. I know it sounds silly. I could tell that he was attracted to me. I remember thinking that he was very handsome and very gentle, and a lot of other things that I thought. I don't remember if we made out or not. I really have no recollection of it. And I remember that if anything happened, it was surely consented, but I have no memory of making out or having any intimacy or contact with him besides that. So yeah, we became close friends very quickly. And on my last day in Palm Beach or Miami, I don't know, I went to see him before I had to head back to the airport and go back to Chicago. And he tried to tell me that he was into me. And I said I was sorry, that my heart was broken. So nothing was going to happen between us. And the sentence that he said, I remember as clear as day. He said, I can respect that. Those were his exact words. I can respect that. So we promised to keep in touch, and we did for a while. And my birthday came up. Remember that my birthday was going to be 15 days after the beginning of the trip. So my birthday came up, and we texted, and he said, hey, I have a birthday present for you. I wrote you a song. I don't know if he really wrote that song till today, because I've never listened to it. It doesn't matter. And there's nothing special about it. He is a musician, so he probably wrote many songs for many girls that he met in his life. Nothing special about it. But oh my God, I was so happy about it. I felt so appreciated that nothing happened between us. Nothing would have ever happened between us. We were never going to see each other again. And we both knew that. He was in Miami, I was in Chicago. I wasn't going to go back there. He wasn't going to come to Chicago. But he wanted to make me happy. So he told me that he'd written that song. So at that point, I told him that I realized how reckless I had been on that boat, because I was in a deep depression, taking antidepressants. I told him that I hadn't been eating that I was drinking, that I was on a boat with 3 guys I had just met. And that was really stupid of me. If anyone that I know, my nieces, for example, told me that, I would just tell them off, because you don't put yourself in that situation. You know, that was really reckless of me. He could have raped me. He could have killed me and tossed me into the river. Nobody would ever know. But then he said, you know what? The place where I came from, we don't touch women unless they consent. Women are sacred. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said. We don't touch women without their consent. So you were safe. Nothing would have happened to you. That guy is still today, to me, the most gentle, respectful, kind, thoughtful person I've ever met. I was a Brazilian Catholic. He was an Israeli Jew. And when we first met, he didn't ask me what church I went to, what religion I had, what were my beliefs. He asked me what kind of music I would listen to. He asked me what bands I liked. So in my most vulnerable days, in my darkest days, this friend, he saved my life. This guy saved my life with his friendship. And what made our friendship so special for the short time is that we were 2 foreigners in a third country, you know, and we had so much in common. And when I hear people talk shit about Israel, it's his face that I remember. It's the story that I remember. Everything I know about Israel, I know because of him. The last time we talked was 2016. He had posted on Facebook or Instagram, don't remember, about the tunnels in Gaza. He was born there. He was a volunteer there. So he knew what he was talking about. I've learned about the tunnels in Gaza from him. Not that he said to me directly, I just saw the posting. So here's what I really wanted to say. When I say I'm Israel Chai, I know what I'm talking about. I know someone who was born in Israel, who has been to Israel, who has done voluntary work in Israel. who's a very kind, loving, respectful guy. I know someone from Israel that I had a spiritual connection with. So if you've never been there, if you don't know anyone from there, you haven't had a conversation with someone who has been to Israel or Gaza or whatever place you you're being ridiculous. You're advocating for something you don't know. That makes you a fool. That makes you a fool. So you're just parroting. You're just, parroting about something that you don't really know, something you haven't really experienced, something you have no clue. And that's it. That's my story.